In today's show, we discuss, is working in a casino or any gambling establishment for that matter immoral?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasula as I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you are keeping safe and well.
Yeah, thank you.
That doesn't sound a very positive affirmation as to you whether you are or not.
Well, I'm thanking you for wishing me good health. That's what I'm saying. Because you didn't ask me. You told me. You said, I will hope they're feeling safe and well. I was like, well, thank you for saying that.
I'm not asking. Okay, I'll ask you. Are you feeling safe and well?
Yeah, not particularly, but thanks anyway.
Oh, dear. Are you willing to share or should we move on?
No, I'll keep my troubles to myself.
Okay. Yeah. All right, in that case, I'm going to maintain that tradition. And this time I'm going to ask you to say hi to the audience.
Why would you do that, Tony? Why would you add to my burden?
Oh dear, I'm still trying, but I'm going to do it for you. Hello, audience. Welcome back. Come on,
good. I was about to, but then you cut me off, so that's fine.
Come on, do it.
Hello, audience. Oh, God.
Oh, dear me. Brilliant. Right, in today's show, we discuss, is working in a casino or any gambling establishment actually immoral? Now, you came up with this suggestion. So, Tayo, do you want to kick this one off?
I can't remember what started it. I don't know why we got onto the topic of the subject at all. I think I vaguely remember I was speaking to my daughter, and this is where a lot of my sort of moral questions come from. She's into ethics and things. And I am deeply of the opinion that casinos are inherently immoral. And it's the sign of a bad society that you have a casino in society. I don't think the casino should be legal. Shouldn't be legal to have casinos. Now, I know a lot of people just go in there, have this impression that you can just go in, just a bit of fun, like you do, let's say, on a cruise or something, somewhere where there's limited opportunity to lose your shirt. You go into the casino, you throw some money around. You're probably on a budget, and you go in there and you just think, well, I might come out with something, I might not. There's a thrill, and you're buying entertainment. And most of us, luckily, can deal with gambling in that way, in that fashion. There are an awful lot of people who cannot. And for them, casinos are death traps because, people end up committing suicide, either sort of biological suicide, which is obviously the worst, or economic suicide, in which they ruin themselves. And why is that legal in a society? When you think about it, this is the crux of my argument. When you think about it, a casino isn't actually producing anything. I mean, you might argue that it's producing entertainment, but is it though? It makes its money by having people lose money to them in exchange for what?
All right, let me turn that around a little bit. You're picking on casinos here in particular. Why not also any gambling establishment?
Yes, gambling used to be strictly forbidden under Christian law. I don't know what happened to the Christians or what happened to society. There was a time when you couldn't even borrow money with and under usury, what they call the usury laws, which is very sensible because money doesn't earn money, and it doesn't make sense for money to earn money because it doesn't. If you leave a pound under your pillow, when you come back 10 years later, it'll still be a pound because that doesn't do anything. And to pretend that it does, that in itself it is earning money, which is the basis of usury, of interest payments, is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's a violation of logic.
Okay.
And there was a time when we didn't allow all this. We didn't allow gambling. How did we get to this situation now where it's even the government is participating in it and having lottery tickets?
Okay.
What the heck, man?
All right. Let's step back a little bit, right? You're saying if you started off with saying initially some people have a problem. Now, yeah, gambling can be an addiction and people can gamble from anywhere now. You get mobile apps that allow you to gamble. You are able to go into your betting shop, which is a something close by rather than a casino. A casino is more a big experience, that tends to be, and they give you a whole entertainment piece. Now, many people do gamble, but there is a group of people, you rightly say, who have a problem. They have an addiction to gambling. Now, the thing is, gambling is what's the word I'm looking for? It's a business now, which is heavily regulated. If you then ban it, for argument's sake, and push it in the black market area, people will still gamble. It's like people who have addictions with drugs. People who have silly addictions with shopping. People have addictions for one thing after another. They will probably still do it. It's an addiction. So removing gambling for the majority of people who don't have a gambling problem is you're taking away one of the items of a free society, because you can choose to gamble or not. It's a choice. It's just like anything else. You can choose to overeat or not. It's a choice. Some people are addicted to gambling. Some people are addicted to shopping. Some people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to eating. So it's an addiction that's the problem, not the gambling. Does that make sense? It's the person that have an issue. So you taking it away because you're saying it's a moral thing, then that's an option. You could say it's moral, you shouldn't be doing it. But then in that case, if you're stopping gambling, you've got to stop casinos, you've then got to stop the stock market. Because what's the stock market?
Well, yes, I want to do that anyway.
Okay. Does that mean you want to remove the whole of society?
I asked you once. I don't believe we would be removing the whole society. I don't really know what's going on in the stock market. It's like I asked you, remember we were talking about, well, I can't remember what the episode was, but I was talking about trains and how in the UK our trains are owned by French and German stockholders. I'm like, well, how? Why is that? When you buy stocks into something to fund, let's say HS2, which for people who don't know about this is a new line, hyperspeed railway, what we call in Britain a hyperspeed railway. I don't think it's going to reach anything like the 200 or 300 or 600 kilometers per hour trains in China and was it 250
Japan
miles per hour? Yeah. 250 miles per hour trains in Japan. So what we call hyperspeed, I think is what they call slow speed. It's ridiculous, actually. It's quite embarrassing. And this is going to be the second line between London and Manchester. This is what the government is proposing, and it's going to cost billions. Now, if you put out a stock, if you put out I forgot what they call it, if you float, right, a company, and then you sell shares, and then people buy shares in that company, I can understand because they've put in, say, 6 billion. And those shares, to me, should be limited to a value, and that value being what they're expected to return. So you might say, you put in £1, you're going to get £2 back. And then you have faith that a successful HS2 company will be able to fulfill that and give you £2 back. And then you can put in £1,000, and in the fullness of time, you'll get £2,000 back. What I don't understand is that people can start trading those shares. And then suddenly that trading then becomes the value of the company. What is trading and people being idiotic with their money or their aspirations? What's that got to do with the real value of the actual service on the ground? And that's my point. I don't get it. I don't understand why you can buy and sell that. And like the value of the blooming thing is £2. Why are you selling it for £100?
That's because someone then wants to buy it because they're using.
Why would you want to buy something of £100 for £2?
If they see that the company, the idea is always based on the company and how it's going to be doing.
Look, let me interrupt you. I don't want you to say. I don't want to continue down this route.
Okay.
Understand what I'm saying? In my proposal, if you like, those shares never own part of the company. They are just a debt of the company that you borrowed. Basically, the company has gone to the market, borrowed $6 billion pounds, and promised to pay 12 billion pounds. So that
hasn't
company
promised to pay 12 billion.
No, I'm saying
okay.
This is my proposal.
Right,
that's what the share means. The share means the company is going to pay 12 billion. So that's where you stop all the speculations and everything, and we understand what the blooming share is. This other way that is happening in real life, a share is some kind of part ownership of the company.
Yeah.
And you get perpetual from your little investment of £1. You are expecting, if you like, perpetual investment. That's not how things work. And that's why there's all this chaos. And people are trading back and forth, and the whole thing is a nightmare.
You're saying that the dividends that are paid on shares, that's depending on who the company is. That's not a mandatory thing. That's in addition. That's the company saying we're doing well, we'll pay you so you don't sell the shares. You'll actually keep hold of them because we're also going to pay you a dividend. So it's an extra incentive for having the shares in the first place. That's an extra. That's not mandatory. Once you've bought a share in a company, that doesn't guarantee you'll get a dividend. No, you then are literally have bought a small share in the price of the company, 1/100,000th of it, or whatever it may be. You've got a tiny little piece, and as the company grows, that value of that little share of the company obviously grows with it. So you want it to do well. Now, if at any point you want your money back or a little and the share price has gone up, then sell it. Someone else will buy that little share of the company from you because they feel that the company has the future that can go on to even greater heights. You, however, don't want to wait, sell your share. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is, because then what happens is that people start buying and trading shares and gambling with using those shares to facilitate gambling, basically, and in turn that has a blowback, if you like, on the perception on the company itself and its ability to go to the market and to go to banks and be funded, and people start manipulating stuff and manipulating shares. And so you have the SEC in the United States of America, what is it, Securities Exchange Council or something, and they have to try and keep an eye on everything. It's all bogus. It's all paper and trades and things, and all hanky panky going on. And basically, it's moved away from I need capitalization, I need to borrow some money, and I'm going to sell some shares, and I'm going to offer to pay back X amount on each share, which is very, very straightforward, no nonsense, no hanky-panky way. There's no gambling. Well, there is a little bit of gambling in that you're taking a risk that the company is going to be successful. But that's like a manageable sort of risk. It's like the alternative of interest payments, where you do profit sharing, where you're going to do a business, you go to the bank doesn't charge you interest. It just says, okay, we expect you to make X, Y, Z amount of money from this, and we want 30% of it.
Yeah.
And they're risking with you.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fair enough. But
that's what a share is. You're risking it with the company. Of course if you buy 1,000 or 10,000 shares, you're taking a risk because
of course you're taking a risk. Nobody's saying you're not taking a risk.
Right.
I'm talking about
gambling is.
I'm talking about the kind of risk you're taking. If you buy 10,000 shares in a company for £10,000, and you're expecting, come hell or high water, you're expecting £20,000, that's it. But nowadays, you buy £10,000 in the company, and you say, well, it should be a good company, and I should be getting dividends like this. Not only are you expecting £10,000, but you're expecting every year dividends of, say, £1,000, let's say, right, for the next 20 years. And at the end of 20 years, you're still going to have your £10,000 in whatever currency it is going to be, in whatever strength the currency is at that time. And every single year, you'd have been making £1,000 off it, which is more like interest payment. That isn't like profit sharing. That's like interest payments. That's gambling. and you can buy and sell and hope to. And if you got enough money, like what's the name of that guy, the Soros? If you got enough money, you can actually manipulate markets to suit yourself. That's the problem. I don't know why you don't get it. That it's not gambling for fun, which is go back to casino thing. Gambling for fun. There's this guy I met online. What his business is to have a virtual casino with virtual money, and you pay £5 to participate, and your £5 buys you entertainment of for the duration that you hang on to your chips. When you go into the virtual casino, you're given, say, £100,000, 100,000 whatever, units, and you play you play against other players, you play against the house and whatever, and you see how much you get. But at the end of the day, guess what? You don't lose any money, you don't make any money, and you've had your £5, you've had your fun, and that's it.
Okay.
You see, brilliant, fantastic. No one's going to argue against that.
But he's making money because he's making the fiver.
Yes, well, he's hosting the environment. I mean, there are costs involved here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's fine. But what he's not doing is jeopardizing your livelihood. He's not jeopardizing your house. You're not going to have to get, you'll be able to make your mortgage. You'll be able to make your payments, your bills and everything. You are not in any financial danger whatsoever from your £5 entry fee. It's like going to the cinema and buying a ticket.
Yeah.
You're not going to blame you don't blame the cinema owner and say, well, he's taking money off you. He's providing a service. But when you walk into a casino, a real life casino, you basically an unlimited. If you don't know what you're doing, you've got unlimited jeopardy. You can
if
actually
you're
lose
stupid enough.
Yes, if you're stupid enough. But with this other form, no matter how stupid you are, you're never in jeopardy. That's the difference.
The thing is, with that online one, it's very interesting because they've got around having they're giving the casino experience without the gambling element. They've just charged an entry fee. Now they've actually been quite clever, unless they've not got the gambling license, because obviously gambling is very regulated. You've got to have a gambling license so that you're not exploiting the people that come into your establishment, whether it be online or offline. So you have to have a gambling license, which gets checked every so often. Now, your chap, whoever it was, has actually got around that in so much that he's not giving people the opportunity to gamble with money, but just to have the experience, but they have to pay an entry fee. So even though it's a pseudo casino, you're not gambling with real money. So maybe the thrill that some people seek in gambling isn't there. I mean, I've done similar things like this. We've had hosted events, work events, where we've brought in third-party companies that come in, they set up a casino experience, and at the start of the evening, they give you play money, and that's part of the game. So you get an X amount of money, everyone gets exactly the same, and you play the casino experience like you would if you were in a physical casino. And you lose or win play money. And it's like Monopoly money, if those of you are familiar with Monopoly. And you play the game. So you're gambling, you're playing on the spinning wheel, you're playing cards, all the traditional casino games are there, but you're not using real money. You're just using this play money. And then at the end of the evening, that's it. But you've paid a one-off amount for that play money. And it's a standard amount. So everyone gets charged the same for the event, which then throws in this gambling entertainment event. And it works for people who don't want to gamble with real money, because it is just play money. It's not real money. But the fact that you're gambling in the game, does that still count? Because even though you're not using real money, does gambling only cover real money? See, this is another thing about gambling. Is it moral, immoral when only real money is concerned? Or is it also immoral by you playing a game which involves betting and trying to increase your wager, when in reality, there's no real money won or lost other than the game itself? What's your view on that?
I don't believe that virtual money is gambling with virtual money is immoral.
You
It's
believe
fine.
that as well?
I don't believe it
Ah, you don't. Okay.
because you're not. You see, the idea behind gambling being immoral from a Christian point of view, people would probably be wondering. I thought Tyler said he's not a Christian. I'm not a Christian, but I was brought up a Christian, and I understand their philosophy and the Abrahamic religions. The idea was this: that you earn money, you make money by the sweat of your brow. I believe there's an actual phrase, and that phrase, the sweat of your brow, comes from the Bible, and this is how a man should make money and should look after himself and his family by working and by sweating, and yeah, that's a kosher, if you like. That's an approved way of making money. When you gamble, you're not sweating. You're not making money off the sweat of your brow. You are taking advantage of someone who has bad luck. You're not working for it in a sense, and that's the affront, if you like, that there's no work involved. That you can go into a casino and you can earn X amount of money, £1,000, whatever it is, which you didn't really work for, and that is an affront. But from the point of view of the casino has an edge, and that's why it's a very profitable business because they are in the business of siphoning off money from all the, in my opinion, saps who walk into their establishments. They are there to take your money, which you unwittingly will give them if you don't understand how casinos work. They're not producing anything. At the end of the year, what have they produced? Absolutely nothing. Have they paid taxes? Yes, they have paid taxes. If you like, is another revenue
Okay.
avenue. There's an alliteration for you. There's
Mhm.
another revenue avenue for the government.
Okay.
But if the government was selling heroin and crack, yeah, then that would be yet another revenue avenue. So it's not that all revenue streams are acceptable. We have to ask ourselves, what is the net effect of a casino,
Mhm.
or drugs or whatever? What is the net effect on the community? And I believe that enough studies have been done to show that it's quite deleterious to have a casino in a community. That I don't know about the UK. I couldn't really find any stats easily available of the UK, and unfortunately, I didn't go to the Office of National Statistics in time for this episode, which I hold my hand up and say I should have done. But in America, there's a 6% drop in property values wherever a casino pops up within, I think it's the 3/4 mile area in all
Mhm.
directions or something. And the other statistics I saw is that most of the people who lose money at these casinos are already poor because it's the poor and the desperate that think I'll have one last flutter and try to get back on my feet by
Yeah.
going into casino,
Well,
walking to
that's
casino, and
okay.
hoping. And who is it that is going to be in that bracket? The educated or the badly educated? The well educated or the badly educated? Obviously, it's going
Okay.
to be the badly educated. So there are all sorts of reasons why we have to ask ourselves: do we really want casinos and gambling, even the lottery, in our society?
Let me give you a question. A farmer buys a load of seed. Now, he doesn't know the outcome. He's gambling on the weather that the seed that he's paid for will produce a crop that he can then sell to increase his income. He himself doesn't sweat on the fields. He has to pay people to come and do the sweating for him. So is he now immoral because he hasn't earned his income based on his sweat? He's based his income on other people's sweat. So there's a question there. Is a farmer a gambler? Because he doesn't know if the seeds will take. He doesn't know if he's going to be plagued by locusts. He doesn't know if he's going to have a flood. He hasn't got any of that. He's gambling on the seeds coming good, that he can then produce a profit to pay his workers and then have something left for himself. So what are we saying here? Are we saying that gambling across the board is wrong? So is this an advocacy for communism, where people just produce everything for themselves and work the land themselves, not allowed to share with anyone else, have everything themselves? Those that can't work the land then have to starve, so be it. Or do we not allow this anymore? So gambling is just, it's move forward. It's a choice.
Is there a question in there somewhere?
There's a question there, yes. Because you said gambling and
what's the question?
Casinos. Let me finish. Gambling and casinos don't produce anything. Banks don't produce anything. You give them your money and they then offer you interest because they're using your money for their reasons. But you give them the money, they'll keep it safe for you, and they'll promise you to give you interest. So that is a form of gambling, but it's a secure gambling, because they're going to give you a little bit more just by them looking after your money. So now are we saying that banks are also gambling? So you shouldn't put your money in banks. That's my question to you. How far do we take this, that we cut all this out? So we take away this temptation from everybody. Do we remove banks? Do we stop people and farmers working the land and employing other people? They have to do it all themselves. There's my question to you.
I got that question like half an hour ago. Okay, just saying. Okay, the farmers, you're wrong. Farmers are not trying to make a profit. That's not what they produce. They don't produce profit. They produce food, and that's what they produce. So the seeds aren't put into the ground in order to grow dollars or pounds sterling. I don't know why I keep on saying dollars. The Americans really have borrowed their way into my psyche, haven't they? It's disgusting. Farmers don't put seeds into the ground in order to grow sterling. They put seeds into the ground in order to grow food. And they don't go to the market or send someone off to the market to buy the seeds and sit in their offices or on their bums on couches watching TV. They actually have to go out into the fields, and farmers wake up about 4 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. And they don't get to bed until about 8 o'clock. I mean, they're some of the hardest working people in our society, and they don't really get to do holidays and things because I've got these animals and crops and things that need looking after. Yes, they have people to help them because they can't do it themselves, but that means that they're also helping to feed and clothe and keep in good health and everything their families, of their workers and their workers' families. So everybody is participating in that. Unlike, say, a casino where people go and lose money.
They don't intentionally go to lose money, do they? You're saying that.
In order for somebody to win, someone has got to lose. Where's that money coming from?
So does that mean nobody ever wins in a casino?
Yes, but how, Tony, if a person wins £10,000, that's because people have lost £10,000. That's it. There's no money coming from anywhere else. It's a loss to someone somewhere, and on top of all that, the casino has taken a cut of it somehow. So actually, more people have lost than have won. If somebody wins, otherwise everybody just loses, and the casino is the only one that makes money. Now, the other thing you spoke about banks. Yes, I'm saying I don't like interest, and I'm perfectly happy to have Islamic-style banking where there is no interest. Everything is profit participation, just like buying your house. When you buy a house, you're paying interest on the house. But when you buy a house under sort of the Sharia system, I don't really want to use Sharia because people think it's an Islamic thing. It's not. It's just if it's not based on interest, then you would have X amount payment on that house. It doesn't matter what happens after that. So you buy a house for 100,000, and the fee for that 100,000 is 30,000. That's it, and it's spread over X amount of time.
Yep.
But it doesn't keep growing. It doesn't change. That's it. And therefore, what you have done is you've paid somebody a fee in order to help you buy your house, which I think everybody will say is quite reasonable. And then the people who have given the money, who have placed their money in the bank, can take parts of that profit sharing because they're sharing their profit with the bank. but if you, I mean, when I formed these ideas of mine was in the 80s in the drinking bars of Zaria in Nigeria, when one discussion was how come somebody who had stolen a lot of money in Nigeria couldn't park it. He stole about £1 billion, we thought. $1 billion.
Whoa.
Yes, $1 billion. And he
Stole.
had stole from the government. It was a general. No. I suppose his family could sue me because I can't prove it in a court of law. But this is what we're talking about at the time. And you just have to look up who the generals were who were leading Nigeria in the 80s. I think there were only 3 of them, and it's not the guy who was there now. That narrows it down. Anyway, so he couldn't park that money in the bank because the bank wouldn't take the money because they couldn't guarantee the interest. And we were like, how does that work? Because you want to put money in a bank, and the bank is saying, no, thank you very much. We don't want that money. Not because it was corrupt, the money was from corruption, but just because they were like, how are we supposed to pay your interest on that? And that's when we started thinking about, what does interest mean? It means that the money itself is earning money.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the money doesn't earn money. Like I said, if you put a pound under your pillow and you return after 10 years, it's still going to be a pound because money doesn't earn money.
The pound is like that example in the Bible itself where, I don't remember the story exactly, where God gave 3 people a pound coin. And
I don't think you get the pound coin.
Pound coin, a gold, something gold. I mean, obviously,
I know he's God, but that would be quite a
pound coin. But a gold coin. That's what I meant.
Okay.
And one of them buried it like he would under a pillow, and God wasn't happy because he didn't put that gold coin to use. Whereas if he gave someone else a gold coin, but he used it to help. I can't remember the story now, but I remember hearing this one.
I vaguely, and I was just finished talking about how I was brought up a Christian. I vaguely remember the story of the brothers, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's not brothers. It was the parable. I know Jesus was talking about this.
Yeah.
The parable of the one who buried the money, and they came back and the money was still there. The other guy who did something with it, and blah blah blah. Yes. What was the point you're trying to use it to make, though?
Well, it's like you putting it under your pillow. It's not of any use to you, because if you think about what gold is and what a pound coin is, it's a promise for that money to that has got an inherent value, even though gold has in our society. But the piece of paper, a pound coin or a dollar bill, it's not got a dollar value or a pound value. It's the promise behind it that has got a value, that it's underpinned by the government. So
I want to stop you.
A value.
I want to interrupt you here because I've got a very interesting question for you. What currency is not promising anything? What paper does not promise anything? A major currency, world currency, and doesn't promise anything. Unlike you just spoke about the pound that somebody promises to pay an equivalent value. No, that's paper currency.
That doesn't promise anything.
Nope. If you look at any of the denominations, there is absolutely no promise on it. In fact, I believe there's a signature. It doesn't even tell you whose signature it is, I believe.
It's not the dollar bill, is it?
Of course not. That promises to pay, I believe it's $1, whatever the heck that means nowadays, but go on.
English pound, is it?
Of course not. That promises to pay the equivalent of a pound. And the Chancellor of the Exchequer will pay you a pound if you demand it.
Euro, is it?
It is the euro. It's absolute piece of paper. It doesn't promise anything. And the signature that appears on it, I don't even believe. I think I've got some euro here. It doesn't even. Why does the Brexit have euro, Tayo? I don't know. It's an accident. It's a historical accident. It doesn't even say. It just says €5. Yeah, €5 what? And I turn it over. There's not even a signature on it. There's nothing. It's just €5, €20. That's it. There's zip on it. Nothing. Oh, hang on. Is this someone's signature? I see. No, that's not someone's signature. That's someone who has scribbled on it. Can you imagine? It's not someone's signature. Someone scribbled on it. Otherwise, there's absolutely nothing on it. There's no promise to pay you an equivalent of this, that, or the other. Anyway, I just that's why I don't want to interrupt you, because I noticed that about the euro.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, whoever designed the euro and does that mean they still manage to promise it, or is it just because it's not written on the note, it's
Who can tell?
assumed? I don't know. But anyway, that aside, you've thrown me now. What was I even talking about?
Well, you were talking about you were trying to explain why you think that money can earn money, and I was finding it a very interesting.
Yeah, because okay. When you give your money to the bank, what they say is they'll promise you an interest rate. It's easier than them promising you a physical amount because it's proportional, obviously, to the amount you've put in rather than a percentage. So it's a proportional to the amount you put in. Now, what they then do with that money is they use it and invest it in behind the scenes. Well, and that's why they can then earn money using your money. It's very clever.
Yes,
but then
Tony,
they give you a piece of it.
Are you answering my question though? Are you answering my problem? I said money in itself. I didn't say money with the aid of people, with investment. I said money by itself does not earn money. That's my point. Money by itself doesn't earn money. But interest says money by itself earns money.
Hold on, yes, it does. It's like, for instance, before we had currency that we use now, gold was what we used as currency back in the day. Okay, gold coins. It was gold.
One of the things. One of the things.
Yeah. Okay. So it had value because if someone put it down and said, "What do you think of that?" Someone else will go, "Actually, I'll give you a horse for that," and someone else may think, "Oh no, I'll give you 2 horses for that." So it wasn't. It just then and there in that transaction, somebody valued it more. The person was offering 2 horses than the one with 1 horse. So what we've done is taken gold and produced a piece of paper in most of modern currencies that has a fixed value, because you don't want people to pay different amounts for a single item. So you've got these, how can I do, controlled ways of ensuring that a currency remains standard, so you can get some continuity and equilibrium across the society, because you don't want a pound.
I feel I have to interrupt again.
Oh, go on.
Because you're just not getting my point, and I'm going to try to tell it to you again. Okay, let's have 2 lumps now. Okay, let's have 2 lumps. Let's have a lump of gold on the left, and let's have the equivalent of a lump of gold, but in chickens on the right.
Yeah.
Okay. The chickens have access to food, and no harm or jeopardy will come to them in any shape, form. The gold will be left alone. Nobody's going to come and touch it. Come back after 10 years, which will have increased in actual physical quantity if all things being equal?
The chicken.
Exactly. Obviously. Because the chickens do something. If you put interest on chickens, everybody can understand that. The chickens earn themselves, if you like. If they can, if they increase, there's something going on there. Gold is inert.
If they got wiped out.
Let's not go. No. Let's not go with your weird, fanciful.
No, they could do. I know you're saying in your argument.
I'm saying, I'm talking about in the best of all circumstances for the gold. So my control is everything will be fine for the gold. Everything will be fine for the chickens, because we're only looking at what is the natural tendency. The natural tendency of a human is to work to produce. That's what we understand. The natural tendency of gold or of cowrie shells in West Africa, or of whatever is the form of trade bartering thing, the natural tendency of that is just to be inert. It's just to be there. That is why interest doesn't make sense, because it's a lie. Gold doesn't produce. It doesn't do anything. Yes, people have assign value to it, but you ask a drowning man whether he'd rather have a life jacket or a gold brick, and he'll tell you to take your brick and stuff it in it. You have to understand you have to understand my argument, and then you have to work with my argument. You're not understanding my argument. You're not addressing my issue.
I understand what you're saying.
Well, you don't seem to be, because to be honest with you, and no offense, you're going off on a tangent that doesn't interest me at all.
It's a man-made value. And even the mortgage, it's not called a mortgage. When you buy a house and you're not having interest, you're just paying a fee. You're paying somebody to loan you the money. So you're thanking them with the fee to loan you the money to enable you to buy the house. Now, however you have the fee could be an interest payment on a mortgage, which is in the West, or a flat fee that's given on top of the fact. You're still paying extra for the fact you've been loaned the money in order for you to do what you want to do.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying exactly. I'm saying you don't see the problem.
No,
that's what I'm saying. You don't see the problem because interest is the money in itself earning more money. So if I owe you that £30,000 of the flat fee for 10 years,
yep,
that's £30,000 for 10 years. If I owe it to you for 20 years, it's £30,000 for 30 years. It's always going to be £30,000 no matter what. Now, if it's interest, it gets more and more and more the longer I owe you money. So it's the money that is earning money.
Right.
Yes,
but
that's the problem.
You haven't given it back to me, the fact that you've taken it and used it longer than you say you would, it's like, hold on a minute. You've said that you give it back to me over this time period. You've now said, oh, I can't because the harvest has been poor. I hope you don't mind. I need it for another year. I'm going to say, okay, I'll let you have it because I'm not in need of it at the moment. But you know what? Because I'm doing you a favor for another year, you're going to have to give me a little bit more. And that's what it is. It's interest because you aren't giving it back to me in the time frame. You want to keep it at a set time frame. And that's all it is. It's a man-made facility. I get it. But you can see the reason why it's been created, to give people flexibility where, you know, life hits. You may not be able to return it in the speedy time that you promise. So you might have to keep it longer. And in so doing, the fact I'm giving it to you for longer periods, unfortunately, you're going to have to give me for the inconvenience. So that's all it is.
That is how you see, but you're incorrect. What is actually happening is that money is earning money. You just got to get this concept straight. I'm going to keep on repeating it.
The money is earning me money because
it's not that it is participating in risk. It is that it is earning money risk-free, basically. Because what you're saying is, okay, so you're going to keep it a little bit longer, but you're going to have to pay me more. So what you're saying is that that pile of gold is going to grow. It's going to grow because it's not a static amount of gold that we're talking about. It's an ever-growing pile of gold.
Wow,
if I can't pay, then my kids would pay, and my kids would pay. And like we just finished paying off Canada, was it Canada or America? We just finished paying off for borrowing money to help us fight the Second World War just a few years ago. And all that time we were paying interest. It wasn't a set amount of money. I was just like X, Y, Z. And this is what we're going to pay you.
But we could have avoided interest if we'd have paid it sooner.
Whether we could have or not, it was the fact that interest means that the longer you've got it, the more you have to pay.
Indeed,
which is yes, it is time-based, but that's still not the point. The point is that the money is earning money. Until you accept that, you'll never understand where I'm coming from.
I understand that.
No, you claim you do, but you don't really, because you keep on demonstrating, you don't get the difference. The difference between that and a set amount that we could have had as a flat rate. Okay, we're borrowing whatever it was back in those days, and we're going to pay you back whatever it is back in these days. Even if you're going to say it is index value to the price of gold or whatever, because you don't want to lose money by saying, I'm hanging on to your £30,000 for 10 years, but at the end of 10 years, 30,000 in 10 years' time isn't going to be quite the same value it's going to be now. Even if you say that, that is still not money earning money. It is still a flat rate. It is still a balance, if you like. A balancing, it is still, I don't know how can I put it in
okay. Let me give you an example then. Let's say you borrow money. I mean, this is why it's interest in a way is fair. It can have its negatives, but it's also fair. Now, let me give you an example. You borrow the money and you say, I need it for 10 years. Yeah. And I say to you, okay, for 10 years, you can have it for 10 years, but you have to pay me, instead of 100,000 for 10 years, you got to pay me 130,000. Yeah. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. But you decide to pay me after 6 months.
Yes.
Then what?
You take your 30,000.
So I've taken the 30,000, regardless of the fact that you've now not kept it the 10 years. You've actually returned it to me almost immediately.
Yes.
Is that fair? Is that fair?
Yes, it is. Because nothing would have happened if you hadn't lent me the 100,000. It's absolutely fair. I agreed to it.
Okay.
I don't see any difficulty with that whatsoever.
Wonderful. Now, what happens after 10 years? You haven't got the 100,000 to give me.
Anyways, then you're entitled to sell the house and take what you can out of it to recover all your money.
And you're happy with that approach? You're happy that a fee should be paid up front and rather than interest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can get that. It's called fixed rate.
Okay, well, that's a fixed rate of interest.
Yeah, it is. What do you think a loan is?
I don't know what the fixed rate of interest is. I'm not really big on that mortgage thing.
You can get a mortgage.
But I don't start to, we came from casinos to argue about what is the fixed rate of.
We're now discussing the finance side of things.
I am not comfortable in this area because I'm no expert in it.
Okay.
You could tell me anything and I'd have to accept it, and that doesn't make me feel comfortable.
I have that background, so I have a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be comfortable, with it. Okay. So,
but just to explain for our listeners' benefit, you could not have a mortgage. You can have a long-term loan. You will pay higher for that loan than generally a mortgage, but then you will no longer be fluctuating on market rates, because mortgages fluctuate depending on the interest rate that happens to be by the central government. At the moment, interest rates have been so low for so many years, it makes no sense to get a long-term loan. You might as well have a mortgage because you'll be saving in the short term. But if interest rates were volatile, you could actually have a long-term loan. When you take out a loan, it doesn't fluctuate. It's just fixed. You pay an amount each month until the loan is repaid, because they take the fee as part of the whole deal. So you do get that in a loan because it's loaned you the money with an additional supplement on top to cover the fact they've loaned you the money. That's what a loan is. A mortgage works on interest rates fluctuating, but you as an individual are taking that on board because it's a big amount and it can fluctuate throughout the life of the mortgage. That's the whole point. Stocks and shares, when we started that conversation, going back to stocks and shares, they have a dividend which is not promised. It's just if the company is doing really well, they want to keep you sweet, they'll pay you a dividend. They don't have to pay you a dividend. So I don't understand where you got the problem where people are trading stocks and shares and they're making money from the stock or the share, but they are, because they own a piece of the company. So they value it differently depending, A, how many of these there are, and secondly, whether the company is doing well or not. So
we're coming a long way from casinos. Last word, and then we can go back to casinos. Just the last word on this is we're talking about money shouldn't be earning money. Now, you think that money participation is the same thing. You think exactly. That's why I said we should leave it and get back to where we were. Get back to what we're talking about. You are mixing up the fact that money can participate in risk and can be compensated for that. You're mixing that up with the concept of money earning money, where actually money is risk-free, because the house is always going to be there, and therefore the interest that you're claiming that is stacking up and is never ending is somehow participating in risk, whereas it isn't. In more or less tangential to the argument about the casinos, in that the casinos take money from people who lose it, and they're not producing anything. There's the sweat of their brow is like being robbers, being burglars. The sweat of their brow is to go and deprive people of money, of their hard-earned money, and that just doesn't sit right with me. But I see them as being a bunch of thieves.
You don't have to walk into a casino.
Absolutely
it's a choice.
True. I agree, and maybe that's the only reason why we haven't burnt our casinos down to the ground, because they don't force us to give them money. You have to walk in yourself. At the same time, and then there's tax. But at the same time, I did ask you about, is it all right for the government to start selling hard drugs? Because if they did sell hard drugs, you could say exactly the same thing. Well, you walk into the pharmacy and you sign for it yourself. Nobody forces you to go in there and buy your next dollop of, I don't know how they sell crack. It's in grains or whatever. I don't know. Nobody tells you to go and buy your next cc's of heroin. It's left, it's up to you. Why don't we have that argument then? Why don't we sell hard drugs?
What do you okay.
Yeah,
What's the
exactly.
drug that they prescribe to drug addicts?
Scopolamine, I think it's called.
Okay.
Heroin drug
So
addicts, anyway.
yeah, they do it
Opium.
so that they can wean themselves off heroin and not buy it illegally. So what you're saying is the government are legalizing the prescription of
That's
those
not what
drugs.
I'm saying.
Yeah, you are, because you just said crack cocaine. Okay, we've
Yeah.
got a similar thing, which is heroin,
It's
but
not
it's to
similar.
get
It's
people
not
off.
similar at all. Crack cocaine is supposed to be extremely addictive and extremely destructive. So
So
this
is
thing is
heroin.
meant. Yeah, so
So
it's
is
heroin.
heroin. Yeah.
So this thing that they're prescribing is a medicine that's supposed to help.
It's not. It's part based on heroin, isn't it? To
Well,
give them
isn't it?
the sort of high without then going out to get dependent.
Why are people selling it illegally then? Why do they sell heroin then? Why
Because,
do drug lords sell heroin instead of this thing?
because heroin gives you a bigger high, as my
Well, there
understanding
you
is.
go. So the government gives you what it can give you in order to get you off drugs. The drug lords are giving you drugs in order to keep you hooked.
Yeah.
The government is giving you these drugs in order to get you off drugs. So they're not selling heroin. They're not selling crack cocaine, which was my question, by the way. And you tried to make it my question change suddenly to selling you scopolamine, which I don't know. So I'm saying that your argument was, hey, nobody forces you to walk into a casino. And I said, oh, that's not a very good argument, because if the government were to sell or legalize hard drugs, you'd have exactly the same thing to say, well, nobody is forcing you to go and take hard drugs. But that doesn't make it okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, there you go. So the mere fact that people walk into casinos voluntarily doesn't make it all right. Doesn't make it all right. Like I said, I don't even like the lottery. I don't think it's right. So even and that's the government thing. They keep on talking about the good causes, good causes. Every single good cause was enabled by people who'd lost money. And one good cause would be to stop taking their freaking money, and that would be the best good cause of all. And stop enabling gambling, and stop making it, normalizing it.
So, I mean, let me ask you a question. You are quite a person that doesn't want freedoms to be curtailed. So, are you wanting the government to be a nanny state government and actually doing more controls and stopping more things in society? Are you happy with that approach?
I'm happy with the approach because there's a balance in life, and we're always searching for the balance. I want as much freedom for people as is humanly possible. And one freedom people have, if they have the money, is to jump onto a plane and to go off to Monaco and go and blow their money there in Monaco, where there's plenty of gambling available, or go to France or wherever else. But in the UK, it'd be a really good idea if we moved away from this mentality of gambling as much as is humanly possible. If you want to gamble, let us look for ways and means of making virtual casinos a good thing, a big thing, as big as possible, so that people just have that fun, if they like. Maybe they have table. People love to be lauded for their abilities. Let's make a big thing of the people who are the best gamblers. And everybody
The
knows their name.
best gamblers?
Yes, the best in these virtual casinos, the ones who tend to win the most. They could become like the equivalent of sports superstars or something. Then that way, people are not harming themselves financially. They're getting their thrills. They're getting their recognition. I think that could be one way to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually having people who, even the slot machines. I used to buy. I don't know anybody who knows Northampton on Barrack Road. There used to be a fantastic kebab shop at the bottom near the large traffic lights. And everybody would know what I'm talking about if you were back here about 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And they had a couple of slot machines there. And someone came in, and the chap had to come out from behind the counter and read something to him and lock the slot machine. And I said, well, why do you do that? Is that because the guy is a problem gambler and he's not allowed to let that chap operate the slot machines? And I was like, well, that's pretty amazing. But
Yep.
can you imagine what has happened for that guy to get to that situation where he has to be stopped from going to the slot machines?
Yes, because gambling can be an addiction.
So why
But
don't we
you
help?
don't
Just like
stop.
drugs.
You don't stop. No, you don't stop gambling for everybody because it employs loads of people, and it is inherently beneficial for society. People can go there, enjoy, they can have a drink, they can have something to eat, they can relax. They're not going to bang all their savings away. There are a few that unfortunately are like that, but the same with drugs. Well, I mean, there's shopaholics who literally have got a problem with shopping. The need to buy is an addiction. So what are you going to do? Stop all the shops? You
Well,
got people that take drugs. I mean,
when you talk about the balance that I was talking about earlier, I said it's a search for the balance. Stopping everybody from shopping is obviously not going to be good for the economy whatsoever. So you can't do that. Stopping everybody from gambling with actual money and actual slot machines. There's no reason why I can't have a virtual slot machine.
Well, so those people that make them, that service them, that look after them, the whole country, just put them out of work immediately just by banning these, yeah?
And what I'm thinking about for you is two things that you can substitute. Instead of saying casinos and gambling, please in your mind, substitute the word illicit drugs or slavery. Because you sound very much as if you're defending the same sort of thing, same kind of arguments. Well, what about all the slave owners? He's going to throw them out of work or something. It's like, I've told you that it's not just because it's of benefit to some people. You got to look at the big picture. And the big picture here is that, yeah, some people are not going to be going to come out of it badly, but on balance, it's better for society that we don't have it. And you haven't told me anything today that has made me change my mind. In fact, when you mentioned the fact that people can go in and sit down and have a drink, these mega casinos in Las Vegas, in America, so do you know the one thing that you'll never find anywhere in those casinos, inside the casino? What? Clocks, no clocks.
I know, I've been.
Did you have any windows?
No, you can't even see if it's day or night.
You can't see if it's day or night. They want to keep it. Could you get food at the table? Or at least, yes, because you don't have to go anywhere.
And where I went, just for the benefit of our listeners, I was in Caesar's Palace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you go to the bottom of Caesar's Palace, there's a huge restaurant in there, okay? And
when you say huge, what are you talking about?
I'm talking big in terms of food selection, right? And
paint a picture, man. We haven't been, and we're not likely to
Let
go.
me explain. Yeah. Caesar's Palace. If you don't walk into Caesar's Palace, you get onto a escalator, and it takes you over this demonstration of this water theme that's there, and it takes you above into the building, and then you're confronted with a display of this battle of. You've got these actors, and they keep repeating it, of a battle scene with pirates, and there's a ship there that gets sunk literally in the foyer as you walk in.
It's foyer?
Incredible. Yeah, of the casino. As you're going into the casino. Now, this was a number of years ago I went there, I must admit, but it was incredible. And you go in, and you're right, there are no clocks, there are no windows, it's 24/7 on. But in the bottom of Caesar's Palace, if you go downstairs, there's a restaurant. But to enter the restaurant, at the time that I was there, I had to pay $10 entry. And I thought, what? You got to pay $10 just to get in the restaurant? And so I paid my dollars and went in. I said, well, how much is the food? And they said, what do you mean, how much is the food? You've paid. That's it. Okay. I went, what? You pay $10 and you can have anything? He goes, yes. I said, can I have as much as I want? Yes. What? And literally, the food from every nation is represented there.
Oh, right.
And they have chefs standing all around. So if there's something you don't know, you don't like, or you want them to make you something special, you can ask them and they'll go and do it for you. And you don't pay any extra. That was ridiculous. And I asked one of the guys, I said, why is it only $10 for all this abundance of food? And the chap there said, "Oh, well, because we want more money in your pocket so you can gamble it upstairs." At least he was frank and he was honest with me.
That's amazing.
But the experience was amazing. I mean, I loved it. I had
One
fun.
more
But the
in
thing
your
is,
pocket.
I was there. I was in Las Vegas for work. But obviously, in the evenings, I would go out, and it was incredible. It was incredible. But I had a budget that I set myself because I went there for the intention of having fun, not to win. And that's a slight different mentality. You set yourself a budget, what you can afford, that's what I'm going to do. And you can play. And you win a bit, you lose a bit, but once it's gone, that's it. The temptation for people who think, oh, well, I'm losing it, I need to win it back, that's the wrong mindset. And that's the problem where you can start to get problems with gambling. So I'm not condoning gambling at all. But if you treat it as just what it is, fun, but you have a limit, you know where to stop. And that, unfortunately, is the issue with addiction. There is no stop. And it counts for not just gambling, it counts for any addiction. There is no off switch. And that's where you're right, gambling is a problem. But for the vast majority of people in the whole of society, gambling is not a problem. They can do it just to have fun. So you're saying if you want to get rid of gambling per se as a whole, you want to remove that element of fun, which most people do enjoy it as fun, and you want to take that away for the sake of the few that struggle with gambling. But if you apply that logic to everything in society, which is bad for the minority of people who suffer from it, rather than deal with their issue, you are removing so much from society, then we might as well go into the old communism and make sure that we remove all fun out of society. We just exist. We have our little plot of land. We farm it. That's it. Come home. No fun. No nothing. You just exist.
Well, thank you for editorializing me and actually putting words into my mouth that I never said or meant. And for the sake of clarity, I thank you very much. We'll tell you exactly what I mean.
Okay. Actually, end on that. You want to, because we're getting to the end of the show. So if you want to recap and say your final piece, yes, please.
I am not saying that we should get rid of all forms of enjoyment because I'm some kind of Puritan or something. I am saying that gambling is immoral because you earn money from the point of view of the owners of the casino. They earn money, but it's not by the sweat of their brow. It's not for doing anything productive. It's simply because they are, if you like, ripping off people who go walk into their establishments. They're stealing. They're thieves. They're legalized thieves. I'm saying that we can, well, that's what I believe. And that's what we used to believe as a society before somehow we lost that belief. I'm also saying that we can substitute gambling with virtual gambling, where you can still get that experience of gambling, but you won't jeopardize your children's meals, school fees, medical bills, and things like this, mortgage payments.
Why don't you just introduce caps?
I'm just saying that there are ways and means of offering a similar experience without actually making it life-threatening, because people actually end up killing themselves because of gambling and gambling debts. And the other thing is, lied against me was that I wanted to do it for everything in society or that makes any form of pleasure in society. I'm not against pleasure at all. Just think that there should be things that we do in moderation. I'm not saying that we should limit alcohol, for instance. The sale of alcohol, I'm quite happy with the way that we try to mitigate what happens when people become alcoholics, which is quite a large number, not a large number, but quite a significant proportion of our society. Members of society have problem with alcohol. It doesn't mean everybody should stop drinking alcohol. We shouldn't ban it for everyone. But there's this balancing act that societies have to do. They have to balance between what's good for the individual and what's good for the society. And I think each generation has the same arguments over and over again, and that's not going to stop. So from our point of view, we're doing well enough with drugs and with, although I think we could stiffen those up a bit, and with drinking, but we're not doing it very well at all whatsoever with gambling and with casinos, and that's where I will stop.
I would love to discuss this further, but unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.